Hari Om. As we enter chapter 11, we may look back to see what is the entire purpose of Gita. What is it meant to teach us actually? And we see exactly what we are seeing here in chapter 11. The Vishwarup of Bhagwan means Gita is attempting throughout its journey to show us that the absolute truth, is the oneness with everything, with ourselves and with this planet and with all the others inhabiting it, and with our galaxy and with the millions of other galaxies and with the entire cosmos, with the universe. There is no place where that tattva cannot exist. And therefore, the attempt is to only demonstrate and bring home to us the fact that there is that absolute truth, which is the oneness of all existence. Oneness, Advait. Dvait means duality, Advait means non-dual. So there is no such thing as there is a God up there and this is who I am here. But it is not possible to say, of course some philosophies do believe that there is one God up there somewhere separate from us, and we are as little jivas separate from that. We are a part of the tattva, and that belief will create a duality. But Advaita philosophy of Vedanta says, no, there is no duality. There cannot be two tattvas. If there are two tattvas, one out of which I am made and another tattva out of which that God, whoever that God is made, then there will be two tattvas that will negate the entire understanding of oneness and Advait. There cannot be two tattvas. It would mean two creations. If we believed in a separate God and a separate jiva, it would mean two creations and two tattvas. So even logically it doesn't bear out. So just as you see a piece of mercury, and that mercury, when it falls onto the ground and breaks into several pieces, each mercury, if you have noticed, mercury is technically a liquid, but it acts a bit like glue balls, you know. So every time every little piece that you see of the mercury, the smaller pieces, each one of them is complete and whole and round, although it's smaller, yes, smaller, but complete and whole and round. And you break it further and it doesn't splinter into haphazard pieces. Each piece will be again complete and whole and round. The mercury is a fascinating liquid to look at. The mercury is that element which is used in your thermometer. So if it ever breaks, you must have a look at it or check out some video. That completeness of the jiva, being of the same tattva, is the very philosophy and foundation of Vishwarup, of oneness, of Advaita. So how to realize all this? Therefore, that's why there are so many chapters in the Bhagavad Gita, that the process of realizing could be your karma yoga or your bhakti yoga or dhyan yoga, raj yoga, but these are processes. That's not direct knowledge. Only and only direct knowledge of that Vishwarup, oneness, can remove all agyan, all feeling of littleness, all feeling of separateness, all feeling of that I'm incomplete, unfulfilled, and something is needed in my life to fulfill me, complete me. No, that mercury piece which is splintered and broken off is once again complete and whole and round and perfect. Therefore, each jiva, because we are made of the same tattva, if we know our original tattva, that tattva is complete and perfect. So there is perfection that we carry in us. And then we look out into the world and say, okay, maybe if I acquire this or have that or achieve this, then maybe I will be fulfilled or complete. No, that's why the chase never ends. And the story goes that anyone who has even achieved it will come back and tell you that, oops, sorry. So there's this famous Hollywood actor called Jim Carrey. He once very famously, he is quoted in one of the interviews where he said, I wish for all the world to have all the success and fame that I have. You know why? Because once they have it, they will realize this is not it. This is not the answer. So Jim Carrey, so all those who have been there and achieved it also will come back and say, oh, sorry, I wasted a whole lifetime, but the answer was not this. So this Hollywood actor Jim Carrey, you should see his interview. He says, I wish this fame and wealth for everyone and success for everyone, because then they will realize this is not it. But then, since we don't know that that's not the real answer, we waste a full lifetime chasing all the material things out there, and then accolades and appreciation and wealth and family and property and attachments, and our whole life is gone, because in any case it's a very short life. So going ahead, how there are some very beautiful analogies given in chapter 11 as we go forward. But first of all, let's see verse number 24. Nabasprisham deeptamanekar Nabasprisham deeptamanekavarnam Vyaptananam deepta vishalanetram. What does Arjun see? Arjun sees in this Vishwaroop, he sees great flames of fire which are touching into the sky and flaming in many colors. And Vyaptanam deepta vishalanetram, and mouths and eyes which are wide open. Drishtva hitvam pravyathitantaratma. He is terrified. So even Sanjay actually is witness to the same vision, but there is no account ever of Sanjay saying, I am appalled or afraid or filled with terror. No, but Arjun's heart is filled with terror. That's because Arjun is still living in Agyan, not knowing the Vishwaroop. And Sanjay and Bhishma and Kunti had actually had an inkling. I know the real tattva of Krishna. Arjun did not. He lived in Agyan and he's terrified. When he sees this vastness, this immensity, this immense vastness, to say that there is something which is part of you and yet it encompasses the entire universe, the little mind cannot grapple with it, and therefore it's terrified. Like I said, when you climb up to a very high tower and you're dizzy because of the fear of heights, and this is the fear of immensity. I think the mind cannot grapple it. He's terrified. Dhritim na vindami shamam cha Vishnu. And now he's saying, oh, please give me courage, so that I can have some peace. My mind knows no peace. It is in turbulence to see this roop of yours. And we know that this Vishwaroop actually is the principle. It's not actually a form as has been described, because this is a piece of literature that we are reading, and literature is nothing but art. So it is a depiction in art, but in actuality this Rupa which Arjun is seeing is the principle, the Siddhant of that mighty presence which is actually the cause of all creation and the cause of all destruction. And what Arjun is seeing now with these thousands of mouths and thousands of eyes and flaming and all the creatures who are actually entering the mouth of this great figure, that's the symbol of death or destruction. Why death or destruction? Let's see. We'll see the deeper meaning as we go on to read verse 25. Dramshtra karalani chate mukhani Drishtvaiva kalanala sannibhani. I see in your mouth blazing fires of pralaya. Pralaya is the ultimate destruction, or Armageddon, Kayamat. That is the ultimate destruction of the universe, which the scientists of course call the collapse of the universe, when it starts shrinking. Right now it is in an expanding state. Expanding meaning all the heavenly bodies and planets and stars seem to be expanding in distance further and further and further. That is what the scientists have found. There will come a time when the cycle gets completed and they start coming closer and closer and closer and shrink and maybe just collapse into one big black hole. That is called pralaya. But even when these bodies are they enter this great mouth of the black hole, maybe it's that which is described here, what happens to consciousness? How can that be destroyed? Tell me how it is possible to destroy something which is not born and which doesn't have a beginning, anadi, doesn't have a middle, madhyam. Where is the beginning of the universe? Where is the end of it? Where is the middle of it? Can anyone look at the universe through the most powerful telescope and tell us? No. So it's anadi and anantam, and it has no madhyam. So you cannot even destroy it. It's like saying that I'll take my sword and I'm going to cut the space in front of me. Okay, you may slice the space in front of you, but that space is not affected at all. Or you take your sword and you say, I am going to splice this river, the waters of this river. And then the sword slices right through the waters of the river and it remains unaffected. Therefore, it is actually indestructible even in pralaya. But what Arjuna is seeing now, because of his agyan, he thinks pralaya means complete destruction of everything. Yes, of the universe, of me, small little creatures like Jantu, we are existing on this planet. They are also destroyed, and the bigger planets are also destroyed. The entire galaxies are destroyed. Even scientists know that. So what? So what's the big deal? That's the whole question. But in his mind, let's see where his mind is now wandering. He's saying further in verse 25, Disho na jane na labhe cha sharma. Disho na jane, I've lost my bearing. I've lost my orientation as to what is right, what is wrong. I've lost my orientation. As we do in space, of course, the scientists know that they can find their north, south and their direction, but they find their direction in space. Ask them how? In relation to the direction and distance from planets. So if they know the direction and distance from Jupiter, they can find their way in relation to. But if all these heavenly bodies did not exist, suppose, and there is only consciousness and only space, and you're flung, suppose by chance you're there, the only one, and you're flung into space, will you be able to tell your direction, north, south, east, west? You may say, my head is facing this way, so it must be north up there. Okay. And south near my feet. Okay. But in space, you can swivel in any direction. So your body turns and swivels and turns. And therefore, your head also moves in another direction. Where is the north, south, east, west? In space, when there is no relationship to any other object, we cannot tell directions. Spaceships can move because of the relationship to other objects. That means even directions as we know it, space and direction and distance as we know it is relative. Even Einstein said that actually time and space are relative. They are relative to other objects' existence. But if you take pure space and pure consciousness, then nothing is relative to it. It is absolute. So because of this, even our minds must be boggling now, even listening to all this. And therefore, when our mind boggles, just like us, Arjuna is saying, Disho na jane, I have lost my direction. And na labhe cha sharma, I don't have peace anymore. I'm so confused. Prasida devesha jagan nivasa. Be gracious enough, oh God, please. You are the abode of this entire earth. I'm pleading with you. Have grace on me. Have mercy on me. He started pleading. First he said, in the beginning, please show me your real form. I want to see your real form. And that was his natural jigyasa of a mumukshu. Mumukshu is one who desires moksha or liberation from his petty little sorrows and from the cycle of birth and death. One who wants moksha, basically. And therefore, as a real jigyasu and mumukshu, he had said, show me your form. And when God said, okay, I'll show you. And then now he is saying, oh my God, now I'm terrified to see this form of yours. Yes, it is terrifying to know this immensity. This immensity, this vastness is actually it can boggle the best of minds. And therefore, he says, now I know, and now perhaps Arjuna is beginning to feel that, oh, in comparison to the immensity of this truth, this absolute truth, which is the only truth, the only absoluteness of the world, my petty little life, what meaning does it have? my petty little vanities and pride and arrogance and abhiman, what meaning does it have? No meaning, no significance at all. So, therefore, perhaps this sight has served at least to bring home the proportionate understanding in Arjun's mind about, we blow up our own achievements and our own pride and abhiman in what we have achieved and what we are and how talented and this and that. We blow it out of proportion. We think कि अब क्या हमारे सामने ये समाज क्या है, दुनिया क्या है, हमने तो बहुत, especially if you are successful, wealthy, rich, well placed, happy families, इनसे बस और क्या चाहिए? No. Arjun has suddenly realized, look, this has no significance in the face of such magnitude of the truth. So this truth is what we have to come face to face with in order to find, in order to realize our true purpose on this planet. Otherwise, we continue throughout our lives to play between sukha and dukha, between jay and parajay, between मान and अपमान. इन्होंने ये बोल दिया तो बहुत अपमान हो गया. This is so we are only playing between these opposites. Opposites are called द्वंद्व. ये द्वंद्व से बाहर जाना है, because life is not made of opposites. It is only one single truth. And the Lord is that totality. You may call it Lord or Khuda or Bhagwan. It doesn't matter. The words fail in the face of this immensity. But yes, for the sake of, for the purpose of communication, we may say the Lord. The Lord is the totality of existence. So he's lost his bearing and his orientation. What is our orientation? Our orientation is towards sansar. कि हमको ये चाहिए, हमारा परिवार ऐसा होना चाहिए, समाज ऐसा होना चाहिए, अचीवमेंट एंड वेल्थ एंड सिक्योरिटी एंड प्रॉपर्टी इतनी होनी चाहिए, बस उसके बाद क्या? तो हमारा ओरिएंटेशन वहीं तक सीमित है. उसके बाद हम वी डोंट हैव एन ओरिएंटेशन बियॉन्ड दैट. एंड देयरफॉर व्हेन भगवान हैज पुट हिम फेस टू फेस विद विश्व रूप, हिज ओरिएंटेशन इज लॉस्ट. कि अब मैं इन सब में मैं एक तिनके जैसा हूँ क्या? हाँ, यस, वी आर तिनकास अनलेस वी गो बियॉन्ड इट, beyond our little mind, our little bodies and our little intellect and our little ahankar. मन बुद्धि, देह मन बुद्धि अहंकार के परे जाएंगे तो फिर yes, then we don't have a small, Chinmaya ji used to call it jantu. You think we are living like jantu. Yes, we can go beyond it because we are not all these things. We are actually not this jantu level of existence. So the little ego drops. Yes, now the way is cleared. The moment the little ego is cleared, there is a vast chance. It's like the stage and the curtain has been drawn, and now we are ready to see this whole drama and to see ourselves reflected in the beauty of what is going to be displayed, that Bhagwan Tattva. First, it is that big curtain of ego which is blocking us. Now we go on to 26 and see what reassurance Arjun has of the future of the war, because in the beginning he had said, I want to know actually what is going to be the future of the war. Who is going to win? Am I going to be allowed to conquer, or should I just be conquered myself? This is what he had been asking in verse number 6 of chapter 2. He's saying, न चैतद् विद्म कतरन्नो गरीयः यदा जयेम यदि वो न जयायुः. Should I conquer or should I just be conquered? I really don't know. He had started with such confusion in chapter 2, and now verse 26 of chapter 11. अमी च त्वां धृतराष्ट्रस्य पुत्राः सर्वे सहैवावनिपालसङ्घैः. Now, all the sons of Dhritarashtra with hosts of kings of the earth and Bhishma and Drona and the son of the charioteer Karna with the warrior chieftains, and all of these are actually entering the mouth of that great vision, this great apparition, this spectacular figure with flaming fire from the mouth. And here is seen that even Dhritarashtra, the king of the earth, well, he considered himself the greatest king, and Bhishma and Drona and the charioteer, they are also being devoured, which means what? Total picture here. We are going to see that the greatest of warriors may think that they have conquered the earth, and they have the capacity to conquer the earth, and indeed they all had very, very special powers, all of these. So Bhishma had special powers, and Dronacharya. But in the face of this cycle of birth and death, there is no choice. Everyone has to enter that great mouth of death. So if we see the total picture, the total picture of existence, then the fear of death is actually the sting of death. The sting of the poison of death actually is taken away, and that is the beauty of Sanatan Dharma. In Sanatan Dharma, we speak of death as easily as we speak about life. Because there is no fear of it. Why? Because it is this reason that in the total picture of existence, it is just a part of the cycle. Just as, let's take the example of a spring flower. The flower which is blooming and blossoming in spring, it starts saying, like us, oh my God, I dread autumn. Autumn will come, and in August all the leaves will dry and they'll fall, and I will wither and die too. And the thought of that leaves the flower shivering and shaking in its shoes, not being able to enjoy the beauty of its own existence or the beauty of the spring season. Doesn't enjoy either because of its dread of death. You may think, oh, how silly. Doesn't the flower know that autumn and spring and winter and summer are just cycles? Now you're telling the flower because you have the total picture of the seasons. In the same way, God must be looking at us and saying, what are these creatures fearful about? Don't they know that this is a cycle? And therefore, just like the ocean, there are multiple waves that rise in the ocean, and they are swallowed up back in the ocean. And these waves have a very momentary existence. We don't believe that we have a momentary existence. We believe we are here forever. Although there is ample proof around us. There is ample proof that death is a part of life and it is inevitable, and there's no one who has conquered it, no matter how powerful or how siddha. No one has conquered death. We know this, we see it, and yet we don't believe it about ourselves. दूसरों को आती है. Death will not touch me. If it touches me, we live as if it will not touch us. This was one of the yaksha questions which had been asked to Yudhishthir when he had gone to the riverside to reclaim his brothers, who kept going to the riverside where the yaksha had actually captured them and so-called killed them, because they were not able to answer his questions. So yaksha said, you answer the question, you can go back alive if you like. And each one of them, Nakul and Sahadev and everyone, just kept being killed by yaksha. Yudhishthir came last and he said, oh, I want my brothers back. Brothers. So yaksha said the same thing. Sorry, you can go only if you answer this one question. Not one, actually he had 10 questions. And someday we will take up all 10 beautiful yaksha questions. And the 10th question was, what is the most amazing and surprising thing about human beings? So Yudhishthir said, oh, the most surprising thing about human beings is that they know that death is impending, and yet they live as if death will never touch them. जिस तरह से जीते हैं ना हम इस सुख के पीछे, उस दुख की निवृत्ति, सुख की प्राप्ति, और एक सुख मिल गया तो उसके आगे कौन सा सुख है, तो हमारा विजन बस उस अगले सुख तक ही सीमित रहता है, फिर अगला and अगला. So there is luxuries and comforts and sukha, and that's all we are seeking, as if death will never come. It will be an endless line of sukha prapti and dukha nivritti, of course. तो हमको लगता है कि ये endless journey of sukha prapti है. Yes, we live like that. So Yudhishthir said, that is the most amazing and surprising things about human beings. And Yaksha said, oh, you got the right answer. So I will give you back your 4 brothers, and here you go, back to your kingdom. So someday we'll take up Yaksha questions. They are lovely. 10 questions. Yudhishthir had to answer all of them in order to be spared his life and the life of his brothers. So looking at totality of existence, what is present, past and future? Everything is just part of the same ocean of consciousness. So for consciousness, of course, there is no past, present, future. Just as we talked about space, if all the planetary bodies were wiped out, there is no north, south, east, west or directions. There is no space, there is no direction or distance, because it's relative for us. Same way, past, present, future is a relative, is relative in terms of consciousness, because consciousness is the point from which everything is visible. Everything meaning even the past and even the future. That's why you see people like Nostradamus and all, people जिनको दिव्य दृष्टि मिली होती है, वो आगे का prognosis कर सकते हैं. They can tell the future. They can tell something about भविष्य में क्या होने वाला है. वो एक दिव्य दृष्टि होती है. Why? How can you tell the future? It has not happened yet. No, that's not it. Everything has happened. The whole destiny is already happened. Only some can see it, some cannot. And here it says that Bhishma, Drona, Karna and all these are great people. But why are they in this battle at all? Why are you destroying these people? Well, they have to be destroyed in any case. They are here to do their duty. Yeah, that's all. Bhishma said that I have to fight a battle from siding the Yadav. Yadav is Krishna's Kulla is called Yadav actually. The Kauravas. I am going to fight for the Kauravas because I owe them this. I owe the dynasty my existence, and therefore I am going to be. What about Dronacharya, the great Guru? Well, he also said that, I was a very poor teacher and I didn't have milk for my son. And that the Kauravas and Dhritarashtra's family has fed me right through my life. I cannot fight for the Pandavas. Okay, sense of gratitude, sense of indebtedness. So Bhishma and Drona, all are doing their duties only. They may be fighting there on the side which you believe is adharma, but they're still great people. And Karna also had given his word. He had given his word to Kunti saying, she said, whatever you do, Karna, I want my 5 sons intact at the end of the battle. Yes, you will get your 5 sons. I promise you. Karna said that. And his only promise was that I am not going to fight, even if Nakul, Sahadev and Bhishma, and not Bhishma, and Bhim and Yudhishthir come and face me, I am not going to fight them. My battle is only with Arjun. So Kunti said, no, you still have to keep your promise. I want my 5 sons back intact. And Karna said, yeah, so be it, it will be. So what did he mean by that? What he meant was, even if he killed Arjun and he had promised not to touch the other 4, even if he killed only Arjun, Kunti would still have her 5 sons. How? Because Karna was the secret son of Kunti. So he was also going to keep his promise. They were all going to keep their promise. They were all going to do their duty, and they were all ready to enter the mouth of death. They all knew it's inevitable. Then why is Arjun the only one who is so fearful? Agyan makes us fearful of death. हमको जो अज्ञान होता है ना, लाइफ एंड डेथ के साइकिल के बारे में और मोक्ष के बारे में, then we are fearful of death. So वो अज्ञान अर्जुन में था. And he knows that all these warriors are entering the great mouth of this Agni, the Kal Agni, the Pralay Agni. I see their destruction. Their destruction is inevitable. Which means what? He has also seen that if it is they who are going to be destroyed, he has got a peep into the future. Peep into the future means, Areva, then the battle is won by me in future. Yes, true. So he got his answer. The answer he was seeking in chapter 2, saying, Yada jaye maya devano jaye yuhu. Am I going to, should I conquer or be conquered? And the answer is, you can see the future in my mouth. They are all being conquered. They are all entering my mouth. Acha, is that so? So Krishna in his Vishwaroop is actually revealing the future. What is going to happen? In fact, in the 7th verse itself, in chapter 11, Bhagavan had said, यच्चान्यद् द्रष्टुमिच्छसि, whatever you wish to see in the future, जो तुम देखना चाहते हो. अभी तो तुमको सिर्फ ये पता करना है कि मेरी विजय होगी कि नहीं. पर तुमको जो कुछ भी देखना है, द्रष्टुमिच्छसि, you will be able to see. Okay. Because all time, all space and all beings are actually merged into one. It is that one existence of consciousness, and in that one there cannot be diversity of past, present, future. Be splintered है ना, वो भी splintering है. So it is only one. Everything is merged into one. Of course, the mind takes time to grapple with this for some time, because we live in a material world where we are used to having the conditions of space and time and past, present and future and sukha, dukkha and jay, parajay, everything in opposites. We are used to seeing it. This is the conditioning of our mind. Therefore, Bhagavan says, okay, never mind, but at least know the truth, although your mind will realize it at some point, not now. So we all have to die someday, and we still live engrossed, completely engrossed, so busy in acquiring new sukhas and new pleasures, and so engrossed in sansar. That means we are engrossed in the immediate. बस आगे क्या होने वाला है, बस इतना ही. And Krishna has assumed the stature of Kal, of time, which transcends all yugas. काल और टाइम तो एक जने के लिए नहीं है, और एक जगह के लिए नहीं है, और एक जन्म के लिए नहीं है. काल एंड टाइम इज जस्ट यूनिवर्सल. तो ये रूप उन्होंने जब अख्तियार किया, तो it's a kind of reminder to Arjun, oh, I'm engrossed in this little success and failure dilemma of this little battle, but actually time is running out on all of us. Kal is huge. I am not. I meaning the body, mind, intellect. You know that we have a real existence beyond this body, mind, intellect, ego. देह मन बुद्धि अहंकार के परे हम जो भी हैं, और हैं एक हमारा अस्तित्व है, वो जो है हम, वो हमारी परमात्मा का तत्व वही है. तो वो अगर नश्वर नहीं है, तो हम भी नश्वर नहीं है. दिस अर्जुन कैनॉट सी एट दिस पॉइंट इन टाइम. वो नहीं देख पा रहे हैं. तो वो नहीं देख पा रहे हैं कि भैया हम भी शाश्वत हैं. आई एम ऑल्सो नॉट नश्वर. Therefore he is filled with fear. Therefore हम भी अर्जुन की तरह दुनिया में जिस भी चीज से भयभीत होते हैं, fearful of whatever, and are in dread of anything on this planet, it is only and only because of this agyan that, oh, after all, I am Shashwat, I am indestructible, I am of the same tattva, I am not this little body. ये हम भूल जाते हैं, ये हम उसका विस्मय हो जाता है. So इसकी स्मृति में रहने को कहते हैं remembrance of God, to always remember. Time is running out on us, remember? That's why Bhagavan has shown his the principle of time and death as one big statue of this figure. Time is running out. What are you busy with? And therefore, our dilemmas are dilemmas of this little world. Going on to verse 27, this is elaborated a little more. Vaktrani te tvaramana vishanti dramshtra karalani bhayanakani. All these mouths of yours which are hurrying, into which all these creatures and all these great warriors, I can see the warriors hurrying and racing and entering into your mouth and falling into your mouth. And I behold this fearful apparition, this spectacle. Dramshtra karalani, this terrible, it's terrible to behold. Bhayanakani. Kechidvilagna dashanantareshu. And you know, between your teeth, they are all being crushed. They are becoming churan. They sadrishyante churni te ruttaman gaihi. Churni, they are becoming churan between your teeth. Of course, it's just an illustration, but it also means that yes, we are going to be crushed by something. Our little ego, which we strut about in the world with, is actually insignificant in the face of Kal, of time, which is the principle of Bhagavan, that aspect of Bhagavan which he is showing now. Yes, Bhagavan has this great aspect of Shashvat existence, eternal absolute. But he is showing one aspect of it, the aspect of kal of time. And therefore, what are these Kechidve Lagna? They are being crushed between your teeth, and they're trying to escape. This is a vision, this is a horrible, terrible vision that Arjun is actually witness to, and he's describing it, and they're all falling and they're trying to escape your teeth, and they're being crushed and actually become churni teru, churn, crushed, horrible. Na hati na ghoda, paidal hi jana hai. There is no way you can escape death, in fact. So whatever we are busy with right now, even right now, scriptures and learning, and ठीक है, वो एक प्रयास है, because we have to escape the sansar at some point. But in sansar also, whatever we are engaged with all the time is going to be left behind. This is the meaning of this horrible depiction here of people and all the warriors and great kings, no matter how strong they were, they are entering the mouth and being crushed and trying to escape, and very pitifully trying to escape the mouth of death. How can we escape the mouth of death? No, we cannot. So, पैदल ही जाना है, ना हाथी ना घोड़ा. At the end, all warriors and राजा हो या रंक, सब पैदल ही जाएंगे. Everything is going to be left right here, right behind, wherever we are. Everything is going to be left behind. Think of this room where we are seated. Okay, 40 years hence, 30 years hence, whatever our age. After that, all the things that we see around us is going to belong to someone else. Is going to be handled by someone else. And you say, oh, my notes, मैंने इतने अच्छे notes लिखे हुए हैं. Somebody else will be tearing it up and putting it in raddi after we are gone. So because that other person may not realize the value of our of the books and our lovely books that we are handling right now, they may realize the value, they may not. It may go as raddi, waste paper, or it may be preserved. We don't know. And Kal does not care. It says your job is to come back towards creation. You have been created, come back to Kal, to destruction, and that's it. What is all the attachment to? So everything is being swallowed. And should I conquer? Should I not conquer? What dilemmas are you engrossed in? Krishna is going to answer that, even their dilemmas, कि मुझे ये करना चाहिए कि नहीं करना चाहिए. In Shakespeare, Hamlet, to be or not to be, that is the question. मुझे जीना चाहिए कि नहीं जीना चाहिए, because he was in a dilemma. Krishna is going to answer the question कि वो तुम्हारे हाथ में है ही नहीं भैया, तो ये dilemma में रहने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. To be or not to be, to kill or not to kill, जैसे अर्जुन का question है. But all our dilemmas seem to be real. All our choices seem to be real in this world. But no, I don't think so. There is an overall plan, and we have to move according to that plan. That was 27. Now, all the mouths of death are being described, and after description of these horrible mouths of death, we see some very beautiful poetry also in verse number 28. यथा नदीनां बहवोऽम्बुवेगाः समुद्रमेवाभिमुखा द्रवन्ति. Like rivers, like many of the rivers and many of the currents of the rivers, which are samudra vega mukha, which are racing towards the mukha, the mouth of the ocean, dravanti, flowing. Now, this is a beautiful analogy, isn't it? Because every drop in the ocean actually started by being evaporated in the heat, and then condensing as rain, and then coming down the mountain as a river, and then racing as a river back towards the mouth of the ocean. Oh, I can see this. In class 3 they taught me the water cycle. हाँ, इसको water cycle बोलते थे class 3 या 5 में. लेकिन जब हम ये देखते हैं तो हमको ये साइकिल समझ में आता है, लेकिन अपने जीवन का साइकिल क्यों नहीं समझ में आता कि हमारा जीवन भी एक क्रिएशन एंड सस्टेनेंस एंड डिस्ट्रक्शन का ही साइकिल है, क्योंकि हम भी प्रकृति के ही भाग हैं. हम प्रकृति से क्या भिन्न हैं, अलग हैं? हाउ कैन वी बी सेपरेट? एंड दैट सेम साइकिल ऑफ नेचर, ऑफ प्रकृति, विच इज फॉलोड बाय ऑल ऑफ नेचर. पूरे प्रकृति में सब जानवर, जीव, जंतु, प्लांट्स, इवन द प्लैनेट्स, दे फॉलो द लॉज ऑफ नेचर. ग्रेविटेशन है तो इतना डिस्टेंस रखना है मुझे, उस प्लैनेट से इतना डिस्टेंस रखना है क्योंकि उसका ग्रेविटेशनल पुल फला फला है, इसलिए मेरा इतना डिस्टेंस होगा। ये प्लैनेट को कॉन्शियसनेस से तो नहीं समझ में आता। प्लैनेट इज इनर्ट बॉडी, लेकिन दे फॉलो द लॉज ऑफ नेचर। हम अपने को इतना अभिमानी समझते हैं कि प्रकृति से हम परे हो सकते हैं। नहीं, हम कैसे होंगे? हम प्रकृति के भाग हैं, तो प्रकृति में जितने नियम हैं सब लोग फॉलो कर रहे हैं, हमको भी फॉलो करना है। इट्स एज सिंपल एज दैट। एंड मेक लाइफ सिंपल ना, जस्ट मेक लाइफ सिंपल। प्रकृति का जो नियम है वो मुझ पर लागू होता है। आई एम ऑल्सो प्रकृति, फिनिश्ड, एंड आई सरेंडर टू दैट। सो सरेंडर इज ऑल्सो अ काइंड ऑफ surrender of the ego. That's when the bhakti bhav seeps in and people find great immense bliss. ये अमीर खुसरो, ये सूरदास, ये तुलसीदास, मीराबाई, इनको इतना bliss कहाँ से मिला? ज्ञान से तो नहीं मिला। They were not ज्ञानीज, they hadn't studied the scriptures, they had found it only and only in bhakti bhav. And bhakti bhav is this complete surrender, that I am part of Prakriti and that Prakriti and the other part is consciousness, Purusha. So Purush and Prakriti का जो एक समन्वय है, एक साइकिल है, मैं बस उसका एक भाग हूँ। That surrender gives them such immense liberation, एकदम मुक्त हो जाते हैं, जीवन मुक्त हो जाते हैं। तो वैसे भक्ति भाव से भी आया जा सकता है, जरूरी नहीं कि ज्ञान मार्ग अपनाएं। बट यस, वी आर नॉट गोइंग इनटू द मार्ग्स, बिकॉज मार्ग तो और भी हैं, ध्यान मार्ग भी है। Now we are talking about the examples of how everything enters the mouth of death. तो अभी हम कहेंगे कि जैसे ये warriors flaming mouths of fire में घुस रहे थे, वैसे rivers also enter the mouth of, तो क्या उसका वो death होता है? अरे नहीं। अगर आप किसी रिवर से पूछेंगे कि आपका नाम क्या है, तो अगर वो देव प्रयाग या रुद्र प्रयाग में बहती होगी तो कहेगी आई एम मंदाकिनी, आई एम अलकनंदा, आई एम भगीरथी। When it comes down to the plains and say आपका नाम क्या है, तो हम अपना नाम पर कितना गर्व करते हैं। तो वही river, that same body of water actually will say that I am Yamuna, I am Ganga, I am Saraswati. Saraswati of course is now looked, and finally when all these waters have actually merged, it's the merging with the tattva. In rivers का तत्व क्या है? Water, H2O. राइट, ओशन का तत्व क्या है? वाटर, H2O। अपने तत्व से मिलने में क्या शर्म और क्या दुख और क्या भय? हम तत्व में खाली विलीन हो रहे हैं। तो उस रिवर से पूछो कि आप विलीन होने के बाद पूछो आप कौन है, तो क्या कहेगी रिवर? रिवर नहीं कहेगी कि मैं भयभीत हूँ, आई एम डिस्ट्रॉयड, आई एम गॉन, मेरा तो वध हो गया। No, the river will say, why of course, I say with pride, I am the ocean. इसी तरह हम परमात्मा के तत्व होते हुए भी उस तत्व में विलीन होने से इतना भयभीत होते हैं, because we don't know the cycle of nature. प्रकृति इसके विपरीत जाना चाहते हैं, हम नहीं, हमारा ईगो विपरीत जाना चाहता है। तो उस रिवर से कहेंगे तो रिवर बोलेगी, yes, yes, I am the ocean and I say it with pride, I have merged with the ocean. भैया आप ओशन से मर्ज क्यों हुए? रिवर से पूछे तो कहेगी, व्हाट अ क्वेश्चन यू आस्क मी, दैट वाज द वेरी पर्पस ऑफ माय लाइफ। यू सी, जब मेरा जन्म उस पर्वत पर हुआ, तब से मुझे अपना व्हाट इज कॉल्ड पर्पस, आई न्यू माय ध्येय, मेरा ध्येय क्या था जीवन का, मुझे मालूम था। आई हैड टू गो रशिंग डाउन द माउंटेन्स एंड फ्लो अलोंग द प्लेन्स एंड कीप माय डायरेक्शन इवन इफ देयर वर माउंटेन्स इन माय पाथ। I turned around if there were blocks of mountains in my path, and I kept my direction towards the ocean. That was the purpose. तो अपने पर्पस को हमने समझ लिया, तो फिर क्यों आप पूछते हैं कि आप ओशन की तरफ क्यों जा रहे हैं? तो river will be surprised at you, because the river never changes its purpose unless we put a dam and then create electricity and change its course. But whatever its nature is to merge with the ocean. So from the day we are born, अर्जुन अज्ञानी स्थिति में है इस वक्त, इसलिए उनको भय लग रहा है। He is in dread. Otherwise, the day we are born, our journey towards our Creator has begun. Like the river whose journey towards the ocean has begun the moment it is found in the top of some mountain, because it knows its purpose. So हमारा भी creator की तरफ हमारा journey कब का शुरू हो गया है? कब शुरू हुआ भाई? When I turned 50, 60? अरे नहीं, the day you were born. Because the day we are born, these 6 changes are taking place. Yeah, there is conception, then there is birth and existence, and then we grow, and each growth is a destruction of each of the cells of our body, and our body is growing as in our youth, but all the cells are also being destroyed every moment, even now actually, and new cells are being generated, no doubt. But this growth and decay and death is the cycle, and a flower knows it. And a flower knows that I have to give up my astitva to give birth to the seed, to the it's called seed, to the kali, and the kali knows I have to give up my astitva to give rise to the fruit. The fruit knows that I have to destroy myself to give birth to the seed, and the seed says I have to finally be crushed under the earth to give rise to the new tree or plant. In nature, everyone knows their path, their route, their road to and their purpose. Therefore, there is no grief, there is no sorrow. Everything happens as it does. In autumn, the trees are not grieving. There is no grief because the cycle, they follow the cycle of nature. Now, the grief is only because of people like Arjun and us who do not accept Prakriti. And we know in Prakriti, we see it all around, that conception and birth and growth and decay and destruction and decay and disease and death is the cycle. 6 विकार इसको कहते हैं, 6 विकार सब में हैं और हम में भी हैं. तो पर हम क्या करते हैं? The river chases towards the ocean, but we are chasing madly towards what? Towards the same sukha. कि हमको भी वही सुख चाहिए. परमात्मा में विलीन होके परमानेंट सुख मिलता है कि नहीं रिवर को? वो ओशन में जाके परमानेंटली सुखी हो जाती है. तो we are actually also looking for permanent sukh, but we are looking for it in the impermanent things of life. वस्तु, व्यक्ति, परिस्थिति, घटना, relationships, events. We are looking in impermanent things for that param permanent sukha. So our nature is not different. We are also looking for Paramatma. No doubt about that. Our search is the same. मुझे भी परमात्मा चाहिए. How do you know? Why? Because I look for permanence, for permanent sukha, that bliss. That's why you are looking for your own tattva, that bliss. Of course, we may be looking in the wrong place, and therefore we start believing that संसार में जो भी चीजें हैं वो मुझे उसका संग्रह करने में, accumulate करने में उसमें सुख मिलेगा, and that belief is what leads us to sorrow. So this great roop of Vishwaroop, which was shown to Arjun, actually he should be lucky. Yes, of course he is lucky, because by the 18th chapter he is become a jnani. He says my moha is gone. He is lucky. So when we see this whole totality of the picture of existence, then we may also be lucky enough to break free from the entanglements of sansar, because it's like a river which is caught in a puddle, in a pond, और वो रिवर कह रही है कि मुझे छुड़ाओ यहाँ से, एक डैम बन गया है. उस डैम में मैं स्टैग्नेट हो रही हूँ. I want to go towards, and then we are looking, and the river keeps getting into puddles and pools. No, the river has to have one single direction, because ये puddles and pools जो है ना, वो हमारे सांसारिक सुख हैं, छोटे छोटे. तो उसमें लगता है कि अरे यहाँ परमानेंट मिल गया, लेकिन वहाँ ओशन तो नहीं है ना. परमात्मा का तत्व का ओशन तो और सुप्रीम ब्लिस इज नॉट इन द स्मॉल पडल्स. तो हम उसी पडल में रह के फिर कहते हैं कि हाउ कम आई डिड नॉट फाइंड इट. यस, वी कैन नॉट. सो in verse 28 there is a beautiful word used, Veera. Who is the true hero? Who is the true hero? That means the one with heroic qualities. In the third line, verse 28, तथा तवामी नरलोकवीराः। हीरोज इन दिस ह्यूमन वर्ल्ड, ऐसे संसार में हीरोज वो होते हैं जो विशन्ति वक्त्राण्यभिजन विज्वलन्ति, वक्त्राण्यभिविज्वलन्ति विशान्ति, who enter the mouth of this flaming death principle. Let's call it the principle of death. The heroes of this world. But actually, who are the heroes? The heroes are ones who have the courage to relinquish, to give up, to break free from the sansari chasing, the chasing of sansari sukh, and say, it takes real courage. It doesn't take so much courage to be in battle and to kill someone. That's just your work, your duty as a kshatriya. But it takes much more courage to actually break an effort and power and strength. You are a true yodha. The word used here is veera. If you can break free from the sansari pull, the jakadan, जो जकड़ रखा है ना संसार ने, उससे अगर आप टूट सके, छूट सके, that is your true heroism. And then we can, only then we can grow in our true nature, towards our true nature, our sat. Pools and puddles में अगर river फंसी रही, तो it cannot reach its true sat, its true identity. तो नंबर 29 में कहा गया है कि secret, how do they enter? Some more beautiful examples. This is a very poetic depiction in number 29. Very poetic. Just like the river description was very poetic. Here's one more example. 29. Chapter 11. यथा प्रदीप्तं ज्वलनं पतंगा विशन्ति नाशाय समृद्ध वेगाः. Like the blazing fires towards which who rushes? Towards the ocean, the river is rushing like mad. Towards the flame, the moth, patanga. The moth is rushing towards it. Why? Because, of course, it's going to meet its end. That's not the purpose of its life, but it thinks that is the purpose. और हम पतंगे की तरह हैं, because हमको लगता है कि हर वो सुख जो हमें प्राप्त हो जाएगा, उससे हमारा ये दुख का अंधकार दूर हो जाएगा. I feel a sense of unfulfillment, incompleteness, emptiness. कुछ और करते हैं, थोड़ा और सक्सेस, थोड़ा और नेम, फेम, थोड़ा और फेसबुक पे मोर लाइक्स एंड मोर ग्रेटर एंड ग्रेटर, क्या कहते हैं, नेटवर्क्स. I don't know what they're called, these big groups that keep growing. I'm not on Facebook, but they want to have more friend circle, friend zone, I think they're called. So larger and larger, 500, 5000. तो ये सब चीजों की तरफ जब हम जाते हैं, हम सोचते हैं हाँ, इससे हमारा दुख का अंधकार दूर हो जाएगा. ये पतंगा, the moth thinks the same thing, that I'm going to burn in this fire, it's attracting me. और हमें जो अट्रैक्ट कर रहा है वो दुनिया की चीजें अट्रैक्ट कर रही हैं, वो हमको प्रकाश लगता है, just like the moth. And also जब हम जल भी जाते हैं ना, यानी कि संसार में जब हमको we learn some bitter lessons that there is no such thing as a permanent friendship, suppose, or a permanent relationship, or permanent wealth. कभी loss भी होता है. There is no permanent anything. और जब हमको ये एहसास हो जाता है, फिर भी with injured wings, our wings are injured, and we still keep flapping again towards the attraction of that fire. ये हमारी जिंदगी है. Like a patanga, jwalanam patanga. This is a poetic description of how we do it happily. कि अगली गाड़ी अगर मुझे खरीदनी है, मुझे टोयोटा करोला चाहिए, तो मैं खुशी खुशी अपने खर्चे कम करूंगा या यहाँ वहां से लोन लूंगा. इट्स वेरी पेनफुल टू टेक लोन्स एंड टू बी अपमानित, यू नो, बिकॉज इन सम केसेस आई मे टेक अ पर्सनल लोन, बट मैं खुशी खुशी करूंगा क्योंकि मुझे वो अट्रैक्शन ऑफ द फायर इतना स्ट्रांग लग रहा है. मतलब अगला सुख जो है, जो भी हो सकता है, टोयोटा करोला हो सकती है, नई गाड़ी या नया मकान या नया फार्म हाउस on the outskirts of the city, या न्यू वर्ल्ड टूर, जो भी है जिसके लिए हमको मेहनत करनी है, हम हैप्पीली करते हैं, हैप्पीली, चाहे जितने सैक्रिफाइस करने हो. पतंगा भी हैप्पीली उसमें कूदने को तैयार होता है, लेकिन उसके लिए हम क्या सहने को तैयार होते हैं? दुनिया का मान, अपमान, निंदा, कष्ट, घाटा, मतलब जितना भी नुकसान हो जाए, bank will take a hefty interest if I take a loan to make a world tour or whatever. अगर हम जितनी भी मेहनत करें, हम उस कष्ट को, उस घाटे को, उस नुकसान को, निंदा को सहने के लिए तैयार होते हैं। क्यों? संसारी सुख आने वाला है भाई, कुछ तो आने वाला है मेरे हाथ में, वो अट्रैक्शन हमको रियल लगता है, इसलिए हम, और उसके साथ बहुत कुछ होता है, हेल्थ इज डिस्ट्रॉयड, एसिडिटी, बर्निंग, चिंता हम उसको भी सहने के लिए तैयार हो जाते हैं। दिस इज अ लाइफ वी ऑल हैव नोन, it's not a new revelation to us, it's something we already experienced. And then we have lost our health and then our youth also, कि इसी में हेल्थ भी चला गया, और हेल्थ का ध्यान नहीं दिया तो हमारी विगर, वाइटैलिटी और यूथ, हमारी जवानी सब इसी में चली गई। हाँ, चली गई। सो दैट व्हाट इज द होल पर्पस?